I expect Kyler Murray to return to form. The guy was electric. I like Kyler Murray a lot. With a full off season, being the guy, and I think he becomes that playmaker he was again. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Guys on Sports. And after a brief hiatus, we're back. We're two men down.
I think it's almost like a guy on sports.
It's couple, I don't know. Yeah, it's a guy. Yeah, the stuff has been crazy lately, so we apologize if you missed last week. But we've been doing this for a while now. Yeah. Every week, we felt like, we could skip a week.
Oh, we lose nothing.
Without
having those two, because let's face it, one of our guys can't handle a basic calendar.
Yeah, no.
And the other guy, his gerbil is, not feeling very good today. So he wanted to do the show remote.
How early does he get his schedule, do you think?
Mark?
He told us, right? Yeah,
Mark.
Mark.
In advance, I feel like.
A month in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know how.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a pretty big, middle finger, I feel like.
Maybe he's just thinking we could do a remote. Anyway, we're airing this out on air. We don't need to do that. Hey, Zach, I hope you feel better. Mark, good luck at work. But we press on. It's the off season. It's very early in the off season, and we've been doing our way too early rankings of positions.
Way too early.
Way too early. We'll redo this a few times. But fresh off the season, before the draft, want to just give some thoughts on where we view guys. And it's kind of fun to see how it
changes.
Progresses throughout the off season.
Yeah, and we got also, we're coming up soon on the draft, so that could alter it.
I think it will for sure.
Tonight we're doing quarterbacks. Does where Caleb get drafted change your opinion?
Maybe not.
Yeah,
I think we're gonna go through our first 15, right?
Yeah, because we're men. We're gonna muscle through. We're not afraid to make opinions.
Yeah, no, I'm basically dying over here, but I'll be all right. And before we get to that, I know Rocky, you wanted to talk about some of our social media happenings.
Yeah,
and highlight our TikTok or Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Time to check my social media, yeah. To see who loves me online.
TikTok takes. These are actually all from TikTok.
Oh, nice.
And conveniently, because Mark and young Zach are gone, we can kind of trash them a little bit.
Pile on, and it's deservedly so.
And so both of these are from the wide receiver takes.
Okay.
So first from Yeeter Skeeter.
I like that.
Yeah. I'm sorry, that's not true. From GB, and he literally had 4 crying, laughing emojis and said, "Zach, you just lost all if you had any credibility." And that was his take on DJ Moore. The fact that he took DJ Moore over A.J. Brown and a few other...
Devonta Smith.
No, it's over DJ Moore. Top 5 in fantasy football.
He didn't have DJ Moore.
That's what it says.
No, he had Devonta Smith. That's what he had, yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So let's redo this. Will you take this out or no?
No, this is funny. You leave it in.
Okay, you're right. DJ Moore, this guy was questioning DJ Moore not being in his top 5, which that guy's an ass. But GB said you lost all credibility, and that you're right. It was for putting
Devonta Smith, yeah.
And then...
quite a bold take.
He felt like, he wanted to argue a little bit with these guys. And then Daniels MFT said he has to hate the Cowboys. There's no way CD ain't on here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then somebody else chimed in. We can confirm based off his death decoy. So yeah. So that was both about Zach. And then Mark, not to be outdone, his top 2-5. We had Daniel's MF TikTok again. So Daniel's, we appreciate you listening.
You, Daniel.
You made it twice, buddy.
More importantly, we appreciate you kind of tearing these two guys down.
Yeah, and this is what he said. This is just embarrassing about Mark's picks. And then another guy, not to be outdone, this is Farmer Jake, said, so Mark is bad at fantasy football, which then somebody else chimed in, hey, He's won leagues. Trust us. So I don't know if that person knows Mark or just knows Mark's penchant to remind us that
that's
he's
his
got,
MO. He's won a bunch of leagues that we're not in with him. So
when you're in 160 leagues, you're probably going to win.
You'll win a couple here and there.
Win 2 or 3.
So that's great. And you know, before we move on, and all you fantasy and guys that are enthusiasts for this type of stuff, we want to alert you about our partners, Thrive. Now, Thrive, what's really cool about them, aside from the technology, the app is very easy to use. New users get up to $250 match on their first deposit. Just use the promo click. Am I supposed to be reading this or you? Okay. Just use the promo code GUYSON and clicking the link in our bio using the QR code that's actually on your screen right now, because I'm going to put it there later. Our users get free squares, prop slashes, and game time deals. So if you haven't used these before, I'm sure a lot of you guys have. But, you know, you're getting last-minute squares to add to your ticket, basically, slashes on the totals that these players need to hit, and last-second deals as well, just to help you win some of these contests and put some cash in your pocket. So don't forget to hit the link in our bio, use this QR code, and use Guys On as well. That'll get you set up real nice. But on to the subject at hand.
Well, can I say, like, Zach and Mark, if they were here, we'd probably do a top 5.
Yeah. So you're getting more bang for your buck.
Boys, maybe a top 10.
Yeah.
But we're men. There's only 2 of us, and we're going deep, which
we're going deep.
Pretty common thread in my life.
Yeah.
Top 15 fantasy QBs. Way too early.
Way too early. But
Hopefully
maybe not too early.
Yeah, hopefully we can describe why. And what I was thinking, should we go 1, 2, like 15? How do you want to do it?
I think we should go. How should we do this? Let me see. Would it be best to go back and forth?
And then at the end, we can kind of recap.
Or, you know what I think? For the first 5, I think we should ring them off and then converse about anything that's out of the ordinary. Then I think maybe 6 through 15, we kind of go back and forth. I do want to kind of set some parameters so that we don't ramble. Like, if something seems like it makes sense, we don't have to talk about it too much. If there's something that seems out of place for one of us, then maybe, or we know people are going to react to it, maybe we explain ourselves a little bit and go from there. I think the 2 of us will flow pretty well. So, that being said, we'll start with you. You give me your top 5, starting with 1, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, should we start at 5 and go up to 1? What do you think? We'll start at 1, go down to 5. Yeah, let's do that, because it'll be better for the clip.
Yeah, let's do that.
But first, I want to talk about one quarterback
Okay.
that absolutely should be considered in the top 10. Now, I haven't put him on my list in the top 10 yet, but I'm waiting with bated breath to see exactly his situation. Because this quarterback, if you took him over a 17-game season, had 5,494 yard average, or total yards.
Yeah.
And he would have thrown 44.2 touchdowns. Last year, he averaged 25 fantasy points in every game that he played, and that is none other than the Flack is back. Flack around and find out, people. Joe freaking Flacco. I think he is going to land on somebody's team, and if they let him be Flacco, they let him cook, I think he's somebody who will sneak into easily top 10. But let's put that aside.
Okay.
My top 5, starting with number 1, the Enigma. Until he gets unseated, I'm going to go Josh Allen again. Averaged 26.2 fantasy points last year. Pretty consistent. Good mix of run and pass, and he doesn't get hurt. Jalen Hurts, again, good mix. I think that, honestly, he stepped back a little bit last year, but I think he's going to come back and do well. Then I got Lamar Jackson. Same thing. Real trend here. Run, pass, run, pass. Number 4, I've got Patrick Mahomes, and I think this is the biggest stretch. I did not want to put him, but I knew I would be absolutely burnt at the stake if I didn't have him in my top 5. And then number 5, and this is a surprise, Jordan Love. Okay. I love that developing wide receiver core.
Yep.
I think he looked pretty good last year, averaged 22.3 fantasy points. I can easily see him going up to about 24 to 25. That's my top 5.
Okay, you saved me there. You saved me.
Were we the exact same?
No, I forgot something. But, yeah, I like that. There's a few things I don't agree with. You're going to find out soon enough. And no more. So, Josh Allen, number 1, everything you said. And they're still going to need him to be most of that offense. Yep. And I think that's the biggest driving force behind the value of Josh Allen, I think, is really because they just use him so goddamn much.
He's the only guy that a better running game, especially one that with a pass receiving running back, helps him.
Yeah. Okay. At 2, I opted for Lamar Jackson for the same reasons you said. I just think with his feet, and he's shown more of a propensity to make big plays in the passing game this year. So sign me up for Lamar Jackson. With the change of scenery here, I like Justin Herbert. I expect Justin Herbert to have a big year. I got him at 3. I think that team is going to be I think there's a new identity. I do think they're going to be more physical, but I think he's going to really be able to blossom. At number 4, I have C.J. Stroud. I think C.J. Stroud showed a lot last year, and I think it's only going to get better with those young receivers. I think that we'll see an uptick in rushing from C.J. Stroud that we didn't see this year, and I think he's going to hit the ground running. I don't see a slow start or a lull in the middle of the season. I love Stroud. And then at 5, I have Mahomes, out of purely respect.
Yeah, you have to. It's all respect because he was the number 10 fantasy quarterback last year, and he had some duds.
Yeah, and I don't think that'll happen again. But I think without Tyreek Hill, without a young Travis Kelce, I don't think we ever, not ever, but I don't think the next year or two we see that Chiefs offense return to the juggernaut that it was. And that's not saying they can't, three-peat, but it's just saying for fantasy purposes, I think they're going to win games in a different fashion than they used to.
Which I think we saw a lot this year.
Yeah.
My only criticism of your list would be that...
Don't do it.
If you like Stroud...
I love Stroud.
Then I can't believe Love didn't make it higher because...
Higher than Stroud?
Yeah. They had similar stats, but Stroud had 8 games that were under 20 points, and Love only had like 5.
That's
and
fair.
If you look even worse, Stroud had 2 games that were minus 10 points. Mm-hmm. So he had a 51-point game, and then I think he had a 37-point game. The rest, he kind of came back, and that's why I'm arguing against the Ohio State quarterback.
Yeah. No, well, what I would say is that I think if you looked at the 2 wide receiver cores on paper, the beginning of the season, I think you give the clear edge to Green Bay. And in that respect, I felt like Stroud was able to. I have Love on this list, so I'll talk about him when I get there. But I just like what Stroud was able to do. I think he's a more, regardless of the rookie ups and downs he had, I think he's going to prove to be a more consistent player than Jordan Love. That was my thing with Jordan Love is that I think that he can be hit or miss. Even last year, he started out
first 3 games were on fire, yeah.
And then it was kind of here and there. Yeah. And I think that's who he is, because is he in his 6th year?
Yeah.
Now, yeah. And then I think Stroud still has time to grow, and I think Love will too. But I like Stroud's upside better than Love.
So why don't we just for young Zadius's things, let's just redo our top 5 again, uninterrupted. So my top 5, number 1 is no surprise Josh Allen. Number 2 is Jalen Hurts. Number 3 is Lamar Jackson. Number 4, totally out of respect, Mahomes. And number 5, Jordan Love.
Okay, and for me, my top 5 quarterbacks for fantasy are going to be number 1, also Josh Allen. Number 2, Lamar Jackson. Number 3, Justin Herbert. Number 4, C.J. Stroud. And number 5, out of respect, Patrick Mahomes. All right, so now this is where I think it actually gets a little interesting.
A bit more interesting.
I'll go first here.
Okay.
And you're probably wondering why he wasn't in the top 5, but he's number 6, and that's Jalen Hurts. I do also think he took a step back, and I'm curious to see if he can ever play to the level he did the season before this. I'm not going to say he can't. I don't know if he can, and with some of the stuff I've been hearing, regardless of what A.J. Brown is saying in the media, is that there's trouble in paradise with some of the guys in that locker room, and I want to see how that plays out, because as much as young Zaddy wants to believe, Devontae Smith, I don't think could be a number 1 wide receiver. No. And I think if you take A.J. Brown off the field for any large portion of a season, it's going to definitely have an effect on Jalen Hurts, and we've seen some of that this year.
Yeah, I agree with you about Devontae Smith. I think that who's making who? Is Devontae or is A.J. making Devontae? I think it's a little bit more of that. I do like Devontae. I think he's maybe a really high upside wide receiver 2, maybe lower end, bottom of the first round.
Yeah.
Wide receiver 1. But I was fearful. I have Hurts second, and that's just because I can't deny that he had a bad year last year.
No.
And still averaged 24 points.
Yes.
So I feel like he becomes kind of back to the mean. And I do think that they kind of are figuring out that running back. They kind of figured out to end maybe more what they should do that could help him next year.
The only pushback I would have is I think the coming back to the mean was last year. I think last year was coming back to the mean. I think the anomaly is more likely the year before.
Okay, so now 6 through 15.
That was number 6, yeah.
No, we're starting number 6.
No, that was number 6.
For you?
Yeah.
That hurts. Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you want to do 6 through 15?
I did say, now you go. Yeah.
Okay, my number 6, and this is probably not one that's high on your list, but I can't deny the results. That's Dak Prescott. Average 24.2, actually finished as a number 3 fantasy quarterback last year in average points per game. I like the receiving core. I think they're going to figure out a better complement of running backs, which I think will help him. I don't love Dak. He's not exciting, but no. I think he's a top 6 quarterback.
Yeah, I'm not going to bang against the wall about Dak Prescott. He's put up numbers over the years. I don't think that's the issue with him. He is unexciting, and I think as every year passes by, his rushing upside just continues to, a skydive, basically. So I'm staying away from him, at least in the top 10. I'll just put that out there. I don't think he's going to make my top 10. I'm still undecided on a few guys here. But I'll get into my 7th pick, and is a guy I famously called to be QB1 last season. And, I mean, I don't know whether it was him or the coaching staff just brutally failed on all fronts, but I think he still has the potential to be a game changer and a quarterback to help you win a championship, and that's Mr. Justin Fields. And that's regardless of where he ends up. I just think the talent and the game-breaking capability is there. He's like a walking highlight if they could ever kind of figure out what situation he needs to be in. So
he made my list, but going on what we know now, I don't think he's in Chicago. I don't know where the hell he is. Yeah. And so that's kind of why I have
almost anywhere is a better situation, I feel like.
There's a couple worse, but...
Not many.
Not many, but I kind of... Right now, I put him where I put him because I don't know where he's going to end up.
That's fair.
So, but my number 7 is a returning favorite from a couple of years ago. Should be healthy.
Yeah.
And I think Joe Burrows, just out of respect, when he is on the field with that receiving core, it's hard to bet against him. Mm-hmm. We know that at least Chase and T. Higgins are going to be back in action because Cincinnati franchised Chase. Tyler Boyd, I like him, but I think you can get another third receiver that could be as good.
T. Higgins?
Yeah, what did I say? T. Higgins is franchised, and
okay,
Chase
they did franchise.
Yeah, they did franchise T. Higgins. So I maybe said another running back by accident.
You said
or
Boyd.
Receiver by accident.
You said Boyd.
Boyd is also a free agent.
Yeah.
But I think he's somebody who could be replaced. I think Burrows, nonetheless, is going to be a really solid quarterback.
Okay, yeah, I'll talk about Burrow when we get to him. But follow up Justin Fields for me at 8 is a guy you've already mentioned and a guy I do like, and I love his wide receiver core. I think he has, if you talk about, certain franchises just knowing how to draft and develop certain positions. Green Bay has got it really knocked out of the park with wide receivers and quarterbacks, for that matter.
Well, really, even running backs, they haven't done bad. But
they've been okay. Yes, they're really good at whatever process they got going on there. But I'm excited about Jordan Love with this wide receiver core. If you could get this guy to be the Jordan Love that we've seen through their winning streak more consistently, then I think sky's the limit. He has the talent. There was flashes last year of him looking like Aaron Rodgers. You could tell he learned a lot from Rodgers when it comes to setting his feet, the way his footwork is when he's throwing off platform. A lot of stuff that looks similar. He made some big throws. So I think sky's the limit for him, and I think he also has that ability to kind of run with the ball a bit.
Well, and the thing about him that I like is more about the situation in Green Bay. I do think they have pretty good analytics, pretty good coaching. I think, honestly, they're 4, maybe 5 competent wide receivers deep, which means they could take one of those that they're not as sure of and spin it off for another draft pick, which could help on the offensive line or maybe help at tight end position. That's one position.
I think they're set at tight end.
Who do you think is their tight end?
They had 2 that played really well last year. They had Logan.
The rookies. You're right.
Matt, what was his
Mayer name? And
who?
Michael Mayer.
No,
the guy from Notre Dame.
No, that wasn't one of the guys.
They
had 2 of them. Yeah, you could look it up.
But I do think it's a so maybe you're right about tight end, but then put that into another complement running back, maybe another offensive lineman.
Yeah,
I think that
O-line is where they need help. Yeah,
they've got assets.
Yeah, so you looked that up, and did you name your 8th guy or no?
But it's an easy one for me.
Yeah.
And that is a quarterback that you've already mentioned, a quarterback that I want to put higher.
Okay.
I just want to see what the new coach does. Everybody talks about how he's a quarterback guru, one of the smartest coaches in college football, and that's Johnny Harbaugh.
Okay.
So Air Bear, he's 8. I love Justin Air Bear. I think Browns with Air Bear, they're competing for maybe the Super Bowl.
I think, is this a little bit of Harbaugh hate bleeding through?
No, Harbaugh, everybody talks about him as a quarterback guru, but tell me who he's in college. He never really, until this past year, did anything. And he had 4 games last year where he ran over 20 straight times.
Yes, but...
So in essence, we talk about him, but is he really that sold, or is he more of a running coach?
I don't think so. I think he took Alex Smith to, 2 championship games? We're talking about Alex Smith, who up until that point had been a bust, had him being productive. And say what you want about Alex Smith, smart player, good player, little limited, right?
Yeah.
Made that offense look like something. And he also made Colin Kaepernick look like something for a couple seasons. And so I believe in Harbaugh. I think he's going to get the best out of whatever's there.
You could be right.
The thing is, with Air Bear, we know there's a lot there.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be easily in the NFL the most talented best quarterback he's coached.
I think Justin Air Bear is what Trevor Lawrence wishes he'd be.
Yeah.
A good-looking,
long-haired quarterback that can sling it.
Green Bay's tight end was Luke Musgrave. Second was Tucker Kraft.
Yeah, they were both pretty good last year. So I think they're set. All right. So your turn? No, you just went. Air Bear. Okay. So from Jordan Love on my end to his former teammate, I'm going for a renaissance in New York. Maybe he plays more than 4 plays this year, and Aaron Rodgers lives up to the hype. I still think there's a story that's going to happen there, and I think the year off with the injury and all the media coverage and all that stuff swirling about has only motivated this guy more. I expect him to come out with a point to prove, even more so than last year. And I think they got the horses to do it.
Well, and I think seeing Jordan Love do well,
it probably bothered him.
Yeah, lit a fire under him.
I mean, you got Garrett Wilson, who I think is going to be unlocked, and that's saying something because he's been pretty damn good.
He's been good, but I think that his potential, and this is saying a tremendous amount. I don't know that I've game in and game out see a better route runner in the NFL right now. And that's saying a lot because he had to run those routes in order to get passes from the likes of the quarterbacks that played last year with him.
Yeah.
So I do like Rodgers. He did make my list.
Here's the thing to keep in mind, okay? The rushing is not there for Aaron Rodgers, but I'm talking about a Peyton Manning, Tom Brady-esque season, plus 40 touchdowns. We're not mentioning Breece Hall, who I'm expecting them to get on a lot of swing passes, stuff that's going to count towards your point total with Aaron Rodgers if he throws those touchdowns. I just think there's a lot there, and I think in a weird way, him sitting back and watching that offense run for a year from the sideline in the film room, I think there's a lot of stuff that they probably seen. I'm thinking Peyton Manning, Denver, when he had Demaryius Thomas, and those other guys there, and they were going nuts for like 2 years before his arm gave out on him.
Okay, I like that one. My number 9 pick was another person you've had on your list already, and that's C.J. Stroud. I like C.J. Stroud a lot. I think he's got probably a higher ceiling than a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL. Mm-hmm. He doesn't like to run. He will, but he doesn't like to run. Yeah. He's more of a pure pocket passer. That takes him back a little bit in my scheme or in my rankings. Yeah. The other thing is, I think I believe in their running, in their receivers. I think I do. Okay. I don't know. I think he's got a middling offensive line. I think he's got a decent complement of running backs. But I think it's less him and more the offensive unit. I think that they're going to take a step forward. They do have another first-round pick from the Browns this year. It's the last one. Nice. So that's kind of why I have him a little bit lower. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to argue too much with that. I know my Stroud pick here is more of a prediction than something that's set in stone. But I feel good about it. I'm not wavering. So I think that was number 9 you said. We're heading to our top 10. We're rounding out our top 10. And this is where I'm having a little bit of indecision. But I think I'm going to have to go with my gut. And what my gut is saying is that I got to ride with the little guy. And I think the little guy who was 11th in points per game coming back from his ACL, still trying to figure out that offense. I expect Kyler Murray to return to form. And there's a reason I have him over the next couple guys I'm going to name. And it's mainly his ability with his feet. I think we forget as fans very quickly how we looked at guys a year or two ago. Kyler Murray's still pretty damn young. I think the ACL thing is not going to really hold him back, his first big injury here. But, man, the guy was electric before that, terrible disaster of a season when he was playing Xbox all the time. Yeah. But, I like Kyler Murray a lot. With a full off season, being able to practice, being in the huddle, being the guy, I like it a lot. And I think he becomes that playmaker he was again. I don't hate this pick. I had one guy a little bit higher than him, but for every reason you said. My fear about him, though, is he still likes to run, and he's just too small to run. I want him to run, though. Yeah, well, I get that you want him to run, but I don't think that he makes it a full season. Like, I think he could be a guy that will never make it a full season. I don't think that's fair. Yeah. Believe it or not. Because he played like it or not, the year before, even he had missed games. Yeah. He's just, it's not anything against him. He's a dynamic athlete. Yeah, I can't argue that because it's definitely something I've worked into the thought process with other guys. And so this is why I chose this guy at 10 because he's everything Kyle Murray is. Mm-hmm. But he's like a freaking monster, and that's Anthony Richardson. I'm going to make the same argument back, yeah. Anthony Richardson. He's a little bit less of an accurate passer, but he's, I think, a more powerful runner, and especially around the goal line, really knows how to get in. Yeah. We saw him only in 5 games, but one he got hurt and barely played, and the other ones he averaged almost 20 points a game as a rookie. I think he's just going to continue to grow. He's somebody that I'm rooting for a lot mostly because I just think he's a pretty good human being.
Yeah.
So I like AR, and he made it at number 10 for me.
All right, so that's our top 10. We could recount it at the end, right? Maybe 6 through 15. I don't know that we need to, but if we want to. But rounding out the top 10, we'll get into 11 through 15 here. So keep in mind, 11 through 15, if you're in a traditional 12-man league, a couple of these guys, you're basically talking about still starters here, right, in our eyes. So Kyler Murray and who I put him in front of, I'm going to slot him in now, Dak Prescott. For all the reasons you said, I do wonder if things there with the coach and everything that's going on are going to turn south at any point. It hasn't happened yet as far as production goes. So, I can't throw too much dirt on Dak. It's just the guys I named I like better.
Yeah.
So Dak, I think he's solid. If you could grab him, at a valuable time where his value's there, I wouldn't have any issues with starting him all season.
Yeah. No, I can understand that. I had him much higher, but I get the Dak hate. It's an uninspiring choice. It's just at the end of the year, he normally ends up.
Yeah.
I
don't hate Dak. It's whatever. Just.
All right. So my number 11 is your number 10, and that was Kyler Murray. Everything you said, he's dynamic. I think, honestly, he may be one of the purest athletes. But I do think he's got a pretty good head for the game. Throws it really well and runs it really well.
Yeah.
My only fear is the size.
You're a big size guy.
I am a big size guy. I like big things.
Yeah, I get it. All right, so, and next is a guy that you probably conspicuously has not been named by me yet. It's going to be Joe Burrow. And my only issue with Joe Burrow, or why I'm hesitant, is, well, two reasons. I feel like the last 2 or 3 seasons, we've kind of gotten used to the MO where Cincinnati just tends to start off slow. And it takes them a little while to get into form, right? But it's a little compounded for me with the injuries he's had to his knees, which I was worried about last year.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
And now he's got a wrist
He's got a wrist that we don't even really know what that means.
Yep.
I remember... And it's a little bit different because it's an elbow, but I remember Chad Pennington, when he was with the Jets early in his career, looked like they had finally found their guy. Yep. And he was good enough that he made it work with a noodle for an arm, right, after that injury, but he just was never the same. He could still put touch on the ball. He could still do all these things. Was never able to drive the ball down the field again. And I don't know, man. I just think that I'm not saying that's going to happen, but until I see him throwing the rock at camp, I'm really not going to know where I should rank Joe Burrow.
Right.
So me having him here over like a Stafford or guys like that that's purely out of respect for Joe Burrow's talent.
Yeah.
So you have him high, and I think
I have him high.
It's a little crazy for me.
No, and I get that. I have him at 7 because it's a hope that he's done
healthy,
with it.
yeah.
If he's healthy, I think he's at, quite possibly his ceiling with those receivers, and especially that running back, Joe Mixon. He's probably a top 5 capabilities.
That's true, but
if he's healthy.
But say he is healthy.
Yeah.
But what if healthy now is not the same as healthy before?
Well, I don't
That's
think
what I worry about.
But to me, his game was never predicated on his speed.
No, I'm talking about his arm.
Yeah, that's fair.
What if he can't throw that ball the same way?
Yeah, that's fair.
That wasn't nothing. Whatever happened there last year, we got swept under the rug pretty quickly.
Yeah.
What does that mean for him going forward?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It looked bad, so.
He couldn't grip a football. I don't know how easily that snaps back into place.
Well, and I think he's got enough injuries mounting up over his career now to where you start wondering, when does that enter into your mind? When does your mind begin to play tricks on you? When do you take that slide one step? And I think a player like Burrows,
part of his game is his edge.
Yeah, because he's not the most athletic, has never been the most athletic. His game is, I'm going to show you,
Yeah.
All right, at number 12, and I'm trying to rethink my roster.
Your last three
as
here?
we go, because I'm really struggling, and there's quarterbacks that I'm coming up and I'm forgetting about. But I'm going to go here, Aaron Rodgers, for every reason that you mentioned. I think Aaron was a coach on the field last year which I think helped him get to know every single receiver and running back.
Yeah, you're probably
every
right.
offensive lineman, how they pull. I think their line will be healthier this year. I think they're probably going to find another component in the passing game. They lost McCole Hardman, which
It didn't really matter for
Didn't
them.
really
They're
matter.
going to draft another lineman too high, probably.
yeah. So I like Aaron Rodgers. I still believe in him. I don't see any drop off. I think he's a guy that his floor is probably 35 touchdowns. His ceiling is probably 45.
Yeah.
It's not going to run.
I'm just looking for that. I think I'm banking on that 45.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, he's not going to run, but he's going to sneak into the end zone for 3 or 4
will.
touchdowns he does every year.
And he's going to still find a way to extend the play and, hit a 60-yard touchdown because the arm's still there. All right, so number 13 for me, it's going to be a feller that we've made fun of a lot, and that's Mr. Trevor Lawrence. And I still think as much as we give him flack, the talent is there. They have talent around him. I think their inconsistent play, a lot like Jordan Love, hurts them a lot. I don't see the athletic ability there with him as much as some of the other guys. He's athletic, but it's nothing game-changing, so he really has to do it from the pocket. He has to do it with his mind, and it just hasn't been as consistent yet. But he's still top. Like I said, I feel the same way about him as I do about Dak. I would start them week in, week out if that's how things fell for me. I'm just not excited about Trevor Lawrence. But number 13.
Well, and this is the first one that we agree on.
Okay.
And I did kind of make a quick change here because, to be honest, I forgot about Trevor Lawrence a little bit. But I think that his NFL career, all over, downright forgettable. Like, he's had games where he has really shined. He's got the running ability when he wants to. He's got a pretty strong arm. But, boy, he throws interceptions quite a lot, alarming rate. So that, I think, is what keeps him out of my top 10.
Yeah, that's all fair. All right, so then at number 14, the guy you already mentioned, I'm going with AR. AR 15, I think that, like you said, the talent there, the thing that worries me is the injury thing and how rapidly it happened.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be hard to coach that out of him. He wants to run. He wants to deliver hits when he runs as well.
It's one of the biggest guys on the field.
But concussions worry me. And then if you take that out of his game, how much does it affect the rest of it? Because, like you mentioned, he's not a super accurate quarterback. Big arm, not super accurate. It reminds me of Cam Newton a little bit, obviously, with the ability to push the ball down the field, not super accurate intermediately.
Right. Yeah.
He needs to have the threat to run.
He's got to
threaten
learn
deep.
that touch, I think.
Yeah.
And can you learn it? Is it easy to learn? I don't know. They've got decent receivers. I think they've got, honestly, one of the top 3 running backs in the entire league when he's healthy.
Yeah, that's fair. And so, I think he will score his share of points just because of the talent.
Yeah.
So, AR.
So I already mentioned AR, so I'm happy I did because this one is a little bit of a shocker, and a lot of it is a hope and a prayer because if he does not work out at least to be in the top 15, then this trade may go down as one of the worst trades in the history of the NFL, and that is Deshaun Watson. Can he come anywhere close to 2020 Deshaun Watson?
I don't know.
2019, amazing year. Actually having a pretty good year in 2021 until he was suspended. So this is all based on a hope and a prayer. I think the Browns have still next year will have a top 10 offensive line. I think they're going to figure out if Nick Chubb's real. I think he will be. I think he'll still be a good running back. Good at receiver, not great. One of the better tight ends now in the league. He's got everything, and he's got a great coach in Stefanski. And I like the Ken Dorsey move. I think Ken Dorsey knows how to use a quarterback like this. So I'm hopeful that he's going to work out, and that's why I got him at 14.
All right, fair, all fair. I'm gonna have 15. I'm having a real dilemma with two fellers here. Both of them, I would say, are the conductors of what were pretty much powerhouse offenses most of the year last year. Yeah. And both guys that were accused of being game managers at points. So that's where I find my issue, because I think it's much more about what's around them than them, and that's not to slight them, but my decision is based on that. So, man, it's really tough. But I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to say that I consider Brock Purdy here. but I opted for Tua Tagovailoa here. And it's purely because I think those top-end pieces that they both have, I favor the Dolphins. I favor Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Devin Achane mixed with the man older than time in the backfield there, more so than the incredible McCaffrey and Debo. I just like his team. And, I mean, both of the coaches, they're almost mirror images of each other in some respects on offense. Just the innovation and all that stuff. So, to me, they were kind of like almost the same guy picking between. So, that was a long way to say Tua.
And that was your 15th pick, right?
Yeah.
And this was a tough position to be in here because, honestly, I thought about Tua. At one point, I had Tua as high as my number 12, but then moved him down. Mm-hmm. Purdy, I had at one point number 9, mm-hmm. but then when I looked at the stats, and especially the stats against superior defenses, mm-hmm. I moved him down. Mm-hmm. And then part of me wants to say Stafford. We're not even talking Stafford. He hasn't made our top 15.
No.
My fear is Stafford is he's an old 30 whatever. Aaron Rodgers is a young 39-year-old, mm-hmm. whether that's the drug use or meditation, I don't know.
Yeah, it's working.
Stafford's been injured a lot, particularly around his arm.
His whole career too, yeah.
And I'm just worried. His game is predicated on his arm strength, more than anything else.
More than a lot of people.
So I kept Stafford out, kept Tua out, kept Purdy out because my number 15 is based on upside, and that is Justin Fields. I think if he does get into the right situation mm-hmm. With good coaching, which I don't think he's had in Chicago, mm-hmm. I think he could be a difference maker. And I hate these people that are knocking him for, he's not as accurate, he's not a pure passer. Bullshit. I watched this guy in college for 3 years with Georgia and Ohio State. He's an accurate passer in all 3 phases of the game, mm-hmm. and he's a great runner.
So do you think it's more about like the footwork?
I think it's some footwork. I think a lot of it is they still have a bottom 10 offensive line. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a sieve. His first year, he was absolutely decimated. I mean, the Browns sacked him 9 times. Last year got better, but not great. They did bring in some weapons. But, really, what's the weapon?
Well, they got rid of their OC, so I think they're hoping that'll change. I think Eberflus showed a little something in the second half of the season. Yeah. They looked like a much better team. The defense looked tough.
Yeah.
So, if you could sort out the offensive side, you got the players there.
They're just not committed to him, to me.
Yeah, I feel like that too. I think
he's going to be traded.
Yeah.
And the thing is, where does he go?
I feel like it's smoke, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't like Caleb. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that there's a lot of real big red flags. I would not give everything up to draft him at 1-1. To me, he's this year's Bryce Young.
I don't think the book's out on Bryce Young yet, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but I think there were questions about Bryce Young. It was more size. That's really the only question mark. Caleb, I think desire. Does he really want to be an NFL quarterback? Does he give a damn? He quits. I felt like quit in a lot of big games.
Yeah.
He's got all the skills, but I don't know that the desire is there.
Yeah, I don't know if the makeup is there. Right?
And so to me, if Fields gets traded, where does he go? Is he going to Atlanta? Is he going to New Orleans? Where are we going?
Vikings?
Maybe the Vikings?
I can see that.
But Vikings without JJ or with JJ? There's a lot of...
I don't know. Does he stay around
That's why he's 15th in my book.
Yeah.
But still, on promise alone, I had him a little bit better than Tua. I think Tua's... I unfortunately think Tua will not have a long NFL career. I think he's a couple hits away from a serious concussion.
I mean, he was healthy all year last year.
He was healthy all last year.
Which is a big deal.
But the year before, he got hit hard enough for him to think about retiring.
Yeah.
And, I think those concussions are just as they mount, at some point, you're done. You have to be done.
Yeah.
So, he's got enough money now.
Well, there you have it, guys. Our top 15 quarterbacks. It was a long journey. It was hard. Yeah. I feel good about it. Obviously, we're going to be wrong about a bunch of this.
Sure.
And we're going to change it. But I think we, if you watched, I think maybe you learned a little bit, gave you something to think about.
February 27th, man.
Yeah. I would love to do 16 through 30. That'd be pretty fun.
Well,
That'd
I
be a
think
lot
that, like, is there, how about this? And have you done any research into the rookie that you are stashing on a deep dynasty league?
Not as much as I need to. No, it's pretty early.
Yeah, because that's what I would love to do, a ranking of, because I think there are some great rookie QBs coming out.
Yeah.
I don't think they're the ones that most people are thinking are coming out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, we'll save that for the next one. All right, and before we do that, Rocky, you want to tell us a little bit about Chalkboard?
I do. Chalkboard, a vibrant community, 24/7 fantasy advice. You can follow the link in our bio or the QR code, which is going to be right here on screen. Our Discords have hundreds of members. We have trade and lineup advice. Phil has his picks every week. Mark has his start and sits. And I have my weekly cheat sheets, which go 1 through 32 to 34 on quarterbacks and tight ends, and 1 to 85 on receivers and running backs. It's a great community. A lot of our fans are there, and they're also giving advice and asking questions. It's a great community, so we cannot say enough about Chalkboard.
Chalkboard. All right, guys. So if you stayed this long, we appreciate you. We want you to go check us out on all the socials at GON Podcast. You can find this on all the places you listen to podcasts as well. That's Guys on Sports. We also have another show called Guys on Draft if you want something that's a little bit more risque, yeah. That's a good word for it. And if you're watching this here on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you're notified whenever we upload something new. Check out our shorts. Show us some love. Leave a comment. We love you. Peace.